Can everybody hear me? And if not, just give us a reaction chat. Want to make sure you all understand, can clearly hear me. Again, my name is Kai Wundke. I'm the CEO and also leading a lot of the product development here. And today I have the pleasure to demonstrate some of our latest product additions, in particular for our cloud product. So I will focus on our OneRADON cloud. And I can go back to the mobile app or desktop app or how I interact with the cloud as if requested, but I will focus on the cloud, some basic features, and then going through particular the ANSI AARST compliance for reporting, inspection report generation, state reporting, as well as quality control, quality assurance. All right. So I want to give it another minute, Laura. I want to start.
Go ahead and start. I think if some others jump on board, then we'll kind of clue them into where we are with it.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. And hopefully everybody can see it. So let's start with the basics. So what I will talk today about is the OneRADON Cloud Web Services, which is a web-hosted cloud service application anybody can access from your browser. Doesn't matter if it's a Firefox, Google Chrome, or whatever browser you have. And this is our web page here, where you basically can find more information about it. You can review some of the features, as well as some of the highlights. And when you download the document, we have actually two different licenses for our cloud. One is the base license, which gives you very basic access to track your devices, where they are, your calibration status, things like that. And this comes free with any RMA you generate. You get 1 year free of the base license. Or the other way around, if you buy a base license, you get a free RMA. So it's basically identical and helps you get started. Now, what I will talk today about is the Advanced Level 1 license. Advanced Level 1 license allows you to use the cloud to do all your inspection report generation, invoicing, downloading state data for the months, things like that, and the quality control module. So this is all included in one package in the Advanced Level 1, and this is what I will focus on today. Okay. I know some of you have not signed up for the cloud yet. The way you go there is you can register here, and it will ask you simply for your email. It needs to be a registered email where you have an asset like a monitor from us in our system. And it will basically help you through the steps by validating your password. You will get an email to validate your account generation. Once you click on it, you get access. Now, to get access we have also a direct link here. You can log in right here. Simple login window. You have your name, password, and there we go. What I will do now going forward, I will not log in this system. I will log in our test system because I have test data in that for presentation, but it looks the same. Okay. So I'm going to go in our test system here, and I just log in with my password and username. And in this case, I choose that our what's called the inspection dashboard comes up by default, and this gives you a nice introduction. Now, before I go into any detail, I want to highlight a few components of our cloud application. Number one is we have the dashboard, and this is what you're looking at right now. And in particular, we're looking at the CRM for continuous radon monitors short-term test dashboard. We also have a dashboard for our long-term monitor, which is our Luft monitor. I will not go into that today, but this would be something if you're interested in remote monitoring of long-term radon values of your clients after mitigation, for instance. You basically can get set up, and you would be able to remotely monitor your clients' radon levels as well as some other indoor air quality levels. And you can basically offer this as a service. But I will not talk about that here. Just wanted to really quick highlight that. So again, we have our dashboard here. And in the dashboard, you have 3 elements. You have your list of inspections, which are uploaded and you're working on. And there's a status for that. You have a map where it shows where they are. And you have a quick chart to see where the results are. Now, the other elements here is our device manager. Device manager, what you see here is you see your devices you own or you licensed. Also devices you don't own, you don't license, you can also look up. And then you see basically when they were used the last time, basically when they're connected to the cloud the last time, what locations there were the last times are connected to the cloud. And it also tells you the basics about the next calibration date, the firmware, things like that, and the calibration status. Here, by the way, you can change the name of your device if you would like to give it special names because you don't remember the serial numbers. That's what you would do here. It also shows you the location, the last location of the device. When I change devices, you will see the location. And it has the RMA portal. So from here, once you're a licensed user, you can directly manage your RMAs, create new RMAs, or look at old RMAs when they happened, as well as downloading past transaction logs. For instance, your payments for your own financial reporting, you can download the RMA payments, or you can download your license payments if you paid for licenses. And similar here, you can manage your licenses. You can add new licenses, renew, upgrade your licenses. And this includes licenses for CRMs and licenses for LTE devices if you happen to own some. So everything is integrated here in one dashboard, which we call our device manager. Again, I won't go in much detail here, just want to give you a really high overview. Now, we have the dashboard, we have the device manager, and we have our quality control module. This one I will go in more detail later in the second part of my demo today. But this basically is a fully automated quality control module where you can track your calibration, your duplicates, and your status versus control limits. No? And I will go into that a little bit later. Then the last two tabs here are settings. This is a setting you only go there once, basically to set up what you need. And I will explain this in a little bit of detail. Yeah. And the last two tabs are support and resources. So basically, if you want to go directly to our web page, you can get an overview of the licenses and some legal disclaimers, privacy policies, things like that, and a help desk. So this is maybe a feature not many people use yet. If you're working in the cloud and you need help and you don't know what's going on or need to answer a question, you can simply click here and it gets us to our help desk portal, and you fill in your information, the problems you have or the issues or questions you might have. You submit your ticket and we will get notified, and typically we answer within 24 hours. We respond, either have a solution or contact you back. We can call you back, email you back to find out what help you might need. But I want to point this out because not many people are aware of that, but it's basically it's a support feature here. All right. Now, any question to that part? Hope I didn't talk too fast. No. So let me go back to the CRM dashboard. So the idea here is in all of our cloud, you see always three panels. So to make it simple, you see a panel to the left upper corner, which is in this case, the chart of the inspection with the basic data of the duration of the test, the average, and the pass-fail versus your set criteria. You have the highlight a little bit bigger here. It's the where the test was performed, is the address. And you have your line item down here, which is the selector. So this always three, this go together. The chart, the information you have about this test here, status, as well as the location. And if I change it here and go to a different one, and you will see it will update, it will show you a different chart, different location, and different highlight here. The one you select always gets put to the top. Okay. So what we also have here are filters up here where you can preset some filters, what you want to show in terms of what time, the status of the inspections. And then also, if you like, you can restrict the location where you're searching around your city, for instance, and the radius. And you can save this filter as a default filter. So every time you go here, you will get this default search so that you don't have to re-click the filters settings again. So for me, I made a certain time frame here, and I said I only want to see the completed ones, and when I open it, this is what I see. Okay. So now, before I go in the ANSI AARST compliance, one more step. So when you see this here and you see this inspection, all these inspections are uploaded to the cloud through our mobile app. And here's our mobile app. I just opened one inspection from this morning. Let's see if I can find it here. Open it up to all. And here's the inspection, which I just serial number 6 right here. And when I now compare this here, so you see this is the same chart, it's just in a mobile app, it's not nicely rounded here, it's a little bit tricky. But this is basically the same test which I started over Bluetooth on my XP yesterday. Actually, I had it now running for 21 hours. and uploaded just about an hour ago. I connected again, and what happens is every time you connect to your monitor with our mobile app, it automatically uploads the latest test available. And this happens the same for 1020 XP, it happens the same for 1027, for 1028, 1030, it doesn't really matter. The moment you connect with our mobile app, it uploads the data for you. It also knows if the data was already uploaded before, or if there are new hours available for test. Let's say I connected this morning and I connect this afternoon again. It recognizes there are a couple more hours available. It uploads the additional data. So this is all managed in the back, and you don't really have to do anything other than connecting. Now, if you like to upload data other than just test data, let's say pictures or anything like that, what you would do is on your mobile app here, I have to do that in my mobile app. This is actually my screen mobile app. I say I create a new inspection here with this data, and I can actually now fill in some information, save it, and now I can go through my mobile app and change start pass time. I see the chart. I can add pictures. I can have my checklist here, standard checklist, radon information, and some other information about the inspection. And if I do any of that here, and then at the end of the day, I hit upload, all this information down here, all this information will be uploaded from the mobile app to the cloud. Now, I don't go through detail here, but you can basically collect as much information as you have available at the time you're picking up the monitor, you upload it to the cloud, and it will be right there for you to continue finishing your inspection or editing it, okay? So let me go back here. So let's say I've uploaded my inspection, here it is. Now I know it's about 47% completed. This is based on the start and stop time was programmed into the monitor. I know I have another 53% to go. But I can only go in here and edit it. And when I edit, I have all the details I need to complete an inspection report. For instance, you have your site address, and you can copy this over to the billing address. You have your chart, you can add photos, checklists, radon information, and report setup. And I will go in detail next with that. But this gives you the basic idea how you operate with the cloud. You upload data, you fill in this information either on the mobile phone or in the cloud, or a combination of the two, or only in the cloud, it doesn't really matter. And then at the end, you generate a report. And I will show you that. Okay, now to the ANSI AARST compliance, because this will show you also some of the stuff in action. In your settings in the cloud, we have some new features here released in April, where we introduced this button here. And this button does basically, oops, my screen is a little bit sensitive here. This is basically all report setups. These are things which I want to have included in my report. In every single report, I want to have this included. When I click this button, it automatically selects what ANSI AARST NRPP compliant requires, no? And what is recommended. No? It requires special radon risk information, understanding test results. It usually only reports the overall average. You can flip this here between EPA and overall. You have to have your license number in, so requiring that you have a test data table and test charts. Now, in addition, we also can select measurement uncertainty, and this would add the ELAB measurement uncertainty for each test into the report as well. So I keep this on here for demonstration. On the right side here, you can select states, and this is a setup which state you're in, where you want to report for, that it adds disclaimers into each report which are compliant with what the state requires you to have in there. Okay.
Kai, can you check Minnesota just for this reference and just for the record for some of our Colorado attendees? Colorado declared that they didn't have anything to apply at this point, so there's no state notification needed for their reporting.
All right, very good. For general use, I didn't go into detail, but obviously this is a setting you only have to go in this page once. You set up your company information. Typically, this is already pre-populated because we know who you are. You're pulling this from your account information. However, if you want to change it, you can change it here. You can also set up a different shipping address. For instance, if you want to have your invoices from your customers or your RMAs shipped to a different address and what your company address is, you can put this in here. And then you can obviously provide here the license number already, which will be added to the reports, and some settings about notifications and which ones of the dashboards you want to go to when you log in. No? And then some basic settings down here where you decide, okay, what's my action level? In this case, it's 4. You can be 2.7, or if you go to in Canada, Becquerel, you would select a Becquerel level here. And you can set up your reports, your header image, where usually would be your company logo you put in. You can decide to have it left or right, and a signature, which is typically just a download of your signature. You put it on a paper, take a photo, take a snapshot, PNG, PPG file, any of that works, download it here. And at the end, some default comments. These are some default comments you like to have included in every single report you send to a customer. Now, this can have up to 500 characters, and when you type in here, you see the character count increases. All right. So these are the basic settings. Again, takes about 5 minutes to set it up at max. And once you have done that, you can get started. And here, I set it up for AARST compliance. I added also the measurement uncertainty because I want to have it in here. And as you see, you can also, if you have an environmental module down the road, we will enable that you also see VOC and CO2 levels in your data tables and charts, but I won't talk about that today. All right, now let's go to the compliance. Number one of your compliance is state reporting. Every day, every month, often you're required to give a summary data. What we have done here is whatever you select here in terms of timeline completed, and what is shown here, there's a little download button here. So in this case, I have about 25 something like tests here selected. If I click this download button, it downloads a CSV file, and this CSV file has all the information. There's one line item for each test, and has all the basic information for the test. That means that there's a test ID, which is unique for traceability and audit traceability. Then you have your start and end times, measurement delays. You have your address. I would have to expand all that here. You have your address. You have all the information about the buildings, the measured averages, and so on. So these are information you can basically write here, download, and use for your state reporting. This is also including calibration, serial number, everything is tracked in here per inspection, one line per inspection. Now, this is something we continue to add on features as requirements change or get added. We will basically put more information in over time, and there will be updates regularly, what gets downloaded. But the principle is always the same. You download a CSV file for the selected time frame, let's say, of inspection, let's say last month, and you get a file in CSV where you have all the basic information you need for your state reporting available. Okay. So this is the first component. The other component is the report itself. So if I go in a report here, and let's say I have a demo report, let's use this one here. The way I open a report, I open up here, and here, because I have it set to NRPP compliance, there are a few things happening. Number one is I still can select my start and end times. That means if I have a test which is much longer than I liked, or something happened at the beginning of the test, not just the 4 hours, I can restrict, I can change the start and end time. You see how the chart changes here. I can change the start and end times of these here to show what I actually want to include in the report. Okay. And the next thing is you can add photos. In this case, I said, okay, make this my cover picture. I can add up to 4 photos per page in the end. This is this. I put one picture here where there's a sump pump system shown and a little monitor. And I can add pictures and declare them as full page pictures, which I get added at the end of the report. I will show you how this looks, but the idea here really is that if you have floor plans where you have to detect, for instance, where you have to show where your monitors were located, as an example, you can do that in whatever program you're comfortable with creating floor plans. Floor plan programs are many out there. They're pretty complex, but you can use them. You create what you need there, and all what you do is you either take a picture of it or you save it as a PNG or a Jetpack file or something like that, and then you can basically directly include it here. The next part here is the AARST compliance. So here, because I selected AARST, it automatically switches this switch to AARST compliance. And what this does is it gives you all these questionnaires, the checklist we call it, which are required by compliance, by the requirements, right? Now, I selected some of them already here. You can select them. You have radio buttons when there is something. If a mitigation system is installed, yes, no, unknown, things like that. You can also put your comments down here. So this gets all saved, and this is compliant. Now, if you don't care about this list, if you're in a state which doesn't require that, now you can always switch back to this, what we call the standard list. This is our standard checklist, which you also can create in a mobile app, which can get uploaded. But this checklist is, the AARST checklist is specific to our cloud application. Now, if you miss something here, you can still add additional checklist items, just like that, and add it at the end. And you can, again, you can edit or delete it as well, this edit checklist item. The next item is the Radon information. And again, we are AARST compliant. So it already pre-selected Radon. And what it does here, it inserts the understanding test results. So this verbiage here, even the format with the colors, everything, is directly from the requirements. No? So there's no edit button here, because this, if you want to include this as AARST compliant, this is what needs to be included. And we basically prepare that here. Now, again, you can go back and be, if you're not in a non-compliant state, you can use the standard understanding test results or vice versa. No? And the last one here is report setup. Report setup is where you put in the basic information, A, based on the result, this is 6.1. So I say, okay, you want to have it at or above the recommended action level, or you can say mitigation recommended, no, or consider mitigation, the options here or others. Then what we have done new here, number one is you put in who actually performed the test, who is the license inspector, but you also can now track who actually dropped off the monitor and who picked up the monitor, including its license information here. And then we have a field here for test-specific comments, something very specific to a comment, to an inspection. You can add a comment here to make sure it's included in the report. And then some basic information about the inspection type. So our pull-down menus here. Monitor location, it's important. Mitigation system status, installed or active or not. And then something about the building, when it was built, what type of building it is, weather conditions. And if you want to include an invoice right here, you can put a number in here, doesn't really matter. And then all what you do is you press this button here once you're done with it, and you can either generate just the invoice, generate a report, or generate both. Now I click here, takes a couple of seconds, but I also prepared a report how it looks. So this is a report where just one test, obviously 6.1, it's the same test actually. Oops, where's it? Same test as this one, 6.1. And here basically how it looks. And nothing you have to do. Here's your logo, and here's your address. This you're setting in once. You have your test location information, who's the test performed for, who's the test performed by, who placed the monitor, who picked up the monitor. You have a cover photo which I selected, and you have your statement here at or above recommended action levels, your average. Again, it's color coded here because based on the requirements, red above 4, yellow between 2 and 4, and green below 2. Then you have your test details, your information about your monitor, which are required in terms of model number, the serial number, calibration dates, calibration factors, motion errors detected, and just test site conditions in terms of weather, house type, mitigation systems installed. Then you have a test summary table. The test summary table, you see the location of the monitor. You see a start and stop time, interval and duration, and then a test detail table, which is basically an expansion of that, where you see the min-max values for all the sensors we had on board. Now, in this case, I had a monitor which had temperature, humidity, and pressure on board, so this gets reported automatically. If you don't have this on board and it automatically does not get reported and the table doesn't exist for temperature, humidity, and pressure. Now, in addition, I selected what I told you before, the elapsed uncertainty, and the elapsed uncertainty in this case is 4% and gets reported here as well. And then the last on the page 1 here, the rest on page 1 is your comments, and this is the test-specific comment where I said within the test. Sorry, here's the same report I just generated. the test-specific report comment, which is what I enter here, right here. It shows up here, and then the general comment. This is the comment which you put in your settings once, right here. The default comment, and this gets added to the report right here after this test-specific comment. And then you have your signature, your test location, as well as the inspection report. So technically, everything's on page 1. And if you don't have other state requirements, this would be sufficient for everything. However, because of the ANSI AARST requirements, you have more information to show in the report. Number 1 is your charts. And again, it shows you the test ID and the location of it for this chart. In this case, you have temperature, humidity, and pressure. And each page down here, you have the test result repeated, as well as the address, so that you know when you print it out what it belongs to. Then you have your test checklist. This is the AARST NRPP compliant checklist. Whatever you selected here is shown. And we only show what you selected in bold, basically yes or no, so it's easier to read. Then you have your test data table, again with a location, with a disclaimer here, which is the required disclaimer according to ANSI AARST and NRPP. And each page has 48 data points. So typically, if you have a 48 data hour test, which is the minimum you want to do, it fits on one page, the data table. In this case, I have a little bit less than 48 hours. And you see, you get your radon information, you get your hourly information, as well as any flags. In this case, there was a motion flag the time I set up the monitor. Obviously, I bumped it or something. And you have your radon test information. Again, this is the compliance part here with the red, yellow, green, and your radon risk information, which I choose to include. Then you have your Minnesota notice to clients as required. Your picture, in this case, I only selected one picture. You can give the pictures names, in this case, mitigation system, and your full page picture at the end, in this case, where I took basically a screenshot of the floor plan and basically located where I put my monitors at the time. Okay. So this is really when you talk about single test inspection report compliance, whereas everything included here. Now, the nice thing is on the cloud is all this information is saved and captured. So if you made a mistake or have to go back or just recreate a report, you can do that anytime. Nothing gets deleted in the cloud until you choose to delete it. So of course, you can go in here and delete. Oops, not this one. You can choose and delete something, but typically you don't have to do that. We retain all the data as long as you like. This is for document and data retention. Also for ISO standard compliance and quality compliance on your end, you can be assured that our data are backed up. We do daily backups as well as continuous hourly backups. And we basically, any inspection you ever created, if you don't delete it, will be available again. And you have your test ID from traceability standpoint, and all the information within the inspections are saved, including photos, all the settings, everything you had. Okay.
Hi, since we're at the halfway mark at 12:30, just wanted to inject and see if anybody had any questions. Feel free to unmic or unmute and speak through your mic if you have it. And if not, you can send a chat message for any of that recap before he gets into some of the other features here with the merging and quality control. So just want to throw that out there.
All right. Well, Laura, interrupt me now if somebody, I don't see right now the screen.
Will do.
Okay. So basically, right now we talked about some basic features, how you get in the cloud, how you register, how you upload data, and how you create an inspection report, and how you can download your monthly summary data. Now, what we also now have is 2 additional features. You can now merge 2 tests together into either one report, or you can use it for side-by-side, what we call duplicate. Now, to do that, all what you need to do is, and let me open this here a little bit. Let's say I have.
Sorry, quick answer to Mike. It is with the level 1 licensing, so you would need to upgrade to the next level per unit. So we can talk about that if you need to afterwards.
Right. Okay, so to merge something, what you do is, let's say this is a new test I just started. I use a test, let's say from here, 47 completed is the one we looked earlier. And I made a side by side with this one, which was serial number 18. I tested at the same time, this two. I select this two. I want to merge these. Go here, say merge. So when I merge, it gives me two options. A, I can select which one is my primary. And it tells me, do I want to merge with as a duplicate or a secondary foundation? And the difference really is, A, the purpose of it. Secondary foundation, if you have two tests in the same house, you know better than I do why this is required. And the other option is the duplicate, where you do a side by side, you have in the same location. The difference is how we generate reports for that and what the data are being used for. So let's say I create a duplicate here and I merge, and that's all what I have to do. Now, what you will see is this test I just highlighted here, the 47, now shows a merge symbol here, it's merged. And when I click on it, it also automatically pulls up the test which it was merged with to the next. So I know that this is the test I'm looking at, and it was merged with this test because this is the test which is right next to it. And they always get bundled together and put on the top here so that you cannot lose them. Okay. Now, when you go in a merge test, you can do that here. You will see additional information. Number one is you see, okay, it tells me this is a primary. This test I'm looking at is a primary merged with the test ID 16328. So I'm test ID 16326, and I know it's merged with this one. Now, from the primary perspective, everything looks very much the same what I just showed you. You have your information, your charts, your photos, all this, everything is the same except one point. I now have another monitor location. In this case, because I merged it with another monitor, I can put the second monitor location in here, okay? So, and if I do that and create a report, and yeah, one more thing. If I go back here, the merged has all these details. You see, you can generate everything just like a single report. However, if I go to 16326, let's go there. Maybe faster to go this way. So I want to go to this one, 16, right here. So if I go now in the duplicate, what you will find is I still see now, I know it's a duplicate and it's merged with the other test. However, what is more important is you see the only field you can change here is the chart. So I can still change the start and end time of my duplicate, but all the other information, the customer information, the photos, the checklist, these are the information which are taken from the primary. So you only have to fill in this once because it creates a report which includes both tests, but there's only one location, one customer address, one set of photos, one checklist, one radon information. Okay. So let me go back here. Now, if I create a merge test, it will look like that once I fill it in. In this case, I did it for secondary here. Again, very similar. You have all your top information, the same information. In this case, in this example report, I didn't select the cover photos, and by default, it puts this little house in here so that you have not an empty space, just for to look better. In a secondary merge, what happens here is it reports both values independently. You have the overall average of the primary, and you have the overall average of the secondary foundation. And then you have two monitors, tracking of two monitors, of course, only one house. And you have in the test summary table, you have two locations. You have one in the basement and one in the crawl space, right? And you have primary and secondary. It tells you which one is which one, tells you the length. Same thing, tells you the table for the first test. And now, because it doesn't fit on one page, we go to page 2. And in page 2, it shows you the table for the second test, again with uncertainty, your comments, same thing here, your signature. And now it shows you basically, instead of one chart, it shows you two charts one device per page. In this case, the basement tests, including its environmental monitors, is this page. The core space, including the environmental monitor, is this page. Then you see your checklist again. You see a data table again. The first test ID, the basement, and then the second test ID, the core space. Then you get your radon information again, your compliance information. In this case, I selected New York for testing. And I put a full page picture again in here, same thing. Okay, so basically, a lot of things look the same as a single report, except you have two tests, which are separated. Now, if you do exact the same, but you use it as a duplicate, what you then get is a report like that, where the main difference is you only see one result, and this is the average of the two. Now, the purpose of the duplicate is to have a side-by-side for QC, and if this is an actual test in a house and not in your basement for QC only, you can do the duplicate at the test location, and it reports the average, and you can use the average then for your reporting to your client. Again, you have the two monitor information, you have your two location, in this case, kitchen and den. The den was a duplicate, or wasn't really side-by-side, should be the same room. In your duration. In this case, you see this monitor didn't have environmental monitor, so it only reports the radon levels. And only one chart, the radon chart. Second chart has radon as well, only compliance information data table. In this case, only the radon and the flags. Second monitor, and then you have your information here. And New York again, and the floor plan. So basically, you have, again, you have a report where you have only one test. You have a report where you have two tests with secondary, with separate reported results, or you have a duplicate where you look at the average, no? And you're tracking everything, all the information are tracked. Now, going back to here is, now I know these are merged. Now, if I made a mistake or merged something, of course I can unmerge it. For instance, you don't see the delete button here. Simply, you have to unmerge first before deletion, because we don't know if you want to delete one or both of the tests. So you unmerge first, and then you delete. What I haven't talked a lot about is the status here of the test. We have three statuses. We have test data only, and this happens when basically we only have uploaded data. For instance, either LTE of my mobile app, I only uploaded data, no metadata, no pictures, no nothing. Then it shows test data only. And if it's still an active test, then it shows the percentage completion. If I started doing something with the test, for instance, I added a picture and saved it or did anything, I call it pending. It's pending because I haven't done the final QA yet and I don't know that's complete. But if I'm happy with it and everything is okay, I flip the switch to complete, and the switch is right up here. Show you right up here. You just mention it, label it complete. You can reverse it uncomplete if you want to change something. Now, if you made a mistake, but this lets you basically this tells you reviewed your test, it's ready to go, and you can basically archive it, send it to your customer, whatever you want to do with it. All right. So the next step is I want to talk about the QC module. Now, as I showed you before here, you can create secondaries and duplicates. Now, other than generating a report out of a duplicate, it also does one more thing. Every time I do a duplicate, it adds the information, the side-by-side information to your QC data tracking, to your QC table. And this is what I'm going next. This is the last feature here. And this is not released yet. That's why I'm in a sandbox here to show you what it is. Again, the QC dashboard has three elements. Number one is your control chart. And then you have a results data table. And you have your summary, QC summary. So let's start with the QC summary. In this case, I have 4 licensed devices. And I get a status of the QC. So what we're tracking as QC are different elements, and I'll show you the elements. Number one is we are tracking if your calibration is due or not. If it's due, you see it's expired. Or if it's due but is in process, this means you already submitted an RMA for that, then we show in process. Okay, so this is the number one we're tracking. Number two is we're tracking when was the last time you did a duplicate or side by side. In this case, the requirement is here, it's okay if it's less than 6 months. If it's more than 6 months, it goes red. So this is this. And it changes colors, as you see, when it goes red. The next one is the duplicate results. And this is the most important one. So we made a duplicate. We compare 2 tests now. And what this now does, the moment you do that, we make a database entry. And the database entry enters the average. It looks for the difference between the two and looks is this duplicate within the control limits? And the control limits are dynamic. And what I mean with dynamic is if the average is below 2 picocurie, the control limit is 1 picocurie per liter. If the average is between 2 and 4, the control limit is 25%. And if it's above 4, it's 14%. When I say control limits, if you're familiar with QC, the control limit is what's also called the expected precision. Okay, there's an expected precision, these are these values here. Then there's a warning level, which is yellow. And there's a red level, which is the out of control limit. And you see if something's out of control, it's going to be red. In this case, what we're showing in the summary table is the last QC test you did. So the last one up here, it's green, so it's in control. It also shows you who actually did the QC. This gets from the report. I showed you in the report, you fill in the information, who inspected it, who's the license inspector. This is the information. This one, I didn't put anything in here. I just did that test a couple of seconds ago. This is basically what I merged just a couple of seconds ago. And since then, because I just did this merge, I don't have any additional tests. So we're tracking the duplicate results. We're tracking who did it. And we're also tracking how many tests have you performed since your last duplicate. So you see that in this case 0, because I just did it. Let me do one.
Does anybody have any questions at the moment, just for spot check?
I want to unmerge this here really quick. Go back to my monitor. So I unmerged it because I reversed it so that we show a little bit more data here. So basically what I did is I just took this last QC data point out because let's say I did the wrong merge, I did something wrong, or I didn't want to do it. I can unmerge and then it gets removed from the data table. And in this case now I see, so since the last time I did a merge, a test on 5/26, I have 6 additional tests. And what we're tracking here, you see, is actually the number of tests since the last duplicate. And if it becomes 9 or 10, it's yellow. It's a warning sign. If it goes above 12, it's red. And this follows the requirement, which says about every 10%, every 10th test, you should do side by side. And we basically give it a range from 8 to 12 as a reminder. You should do it now. Above 12, you really should do it because now it's red. So, and then the last one is the overall QC status. So basically you see this one, everything is fine. My calibration is fine. My last duplicate was just 2 months ago. It was in control, and I only have 6 tests since my last duplicate, so everything is good. Now this one here is out of calibration, and actually the last duplicate was more than 6 months ago, so it's red. This one here, I already submitted for calibration, so that's why it's yellow. And I'm in the yellow range for how many tests I've done since last time, so this is yellow. Now, the nice thing now is when I say automated, all these entries happened, all this determination by just doing the duplicate. I didn't have to enter any limits, any criteria, nothing. I just merged the 2 tests I want to merge, and everything gets entered here. Now, what you also have is, let's put it here, I have the most data. You have your QC chart, and this looks a little bit awkward because I try to show you the different conditions. Basically, when it's below 1 green here, the level is 1 picocurie right here on the right side. And if it's an RPD where it's above 2 or above 4, then you see the 3 levels of expected precision, warning, and control limit. And then it shows you the percentage here. In this case, because I used some awkward tests, they're very, very high. The differences are off the screen. So if it's off the screen, you still see the value here. It's 157%, but we pack it up here so that the chart is still visible. So now, what you also can do now is each test here, let's say this test, I can go here and say, okay, it's approved, or I can waive it, or pending. And every time I make a change here, it gets recorded. But I mean change, let's say, I say this is approved, and I make a comment, all good. I save it here, I save it, and you will see this action was just recorded that I made this comment and changed the status here. And I know it as me, who I'm logged in as me, did this change, and this is recorded in the system. Again, part of traceability requirements. Now, I can select the last 10 or 20. Typically, I use the last 10 for reporting is fine, right? And then the last step is here, I can actually create a report. And when I create a report, I just press the button, don't have to do anything here. And it gives you everything what you need per serial number. The one you pressed on, it gives you company information right here, the same header. It gives you the device information, the over status, gives you the summary of the last QA, gives you the history up to the last 10, the test and the chart. And then at the end, you have your signature and your page. And this is basically, you can call this, you can regenerate this report every month if you want, every year. It gets never lost, right? It's always there. And it always shows either the last 10 data points here, which should be plenty in terms of compliance. All right. And the other thing is, if you're missing something, for instance, in this case here, let's say I need to do another QA because it's out of control. All what I do is I go here, and all what it does is it goes to your page here, and now you can basically select 2 tests, do your duplicate, and get a data entry. Okay, all right. So what else? A small little detail here. If you enable this little button here, all what it does is it looks every day, once a day, it looks for the status of this overall status and sends you a reminder if you have to do something. And this is the most important thing for me. In a sense, I don't have to look even at this dashboard until I need to go here. If I enable this, I get an email when something becomes necessary that I do something in either calibration or duplicate. And then it sends me a reminder email. This serial number requires either calibration or duplicate. I know the serial number, I know what it is. I go in my dashboard, I do either submit an RMA if required, or plan or schedule or merge a duplicate, and I'm done. That's all what I have to do now. All right. So I think with that, I exhausted the basic features here of the QC module, and we have another 10 minutes for questions. Just give it a second if somebody has some particular questions you want to see.
Yeah, I'm hoping that our attendees can undo their mutes if they do want to speak up. There's not a whole lot of people on, so if anybody has any questions, including my team, if you guys have questions, feel free. This is what Kai's here for. So.
Hi, this is Mike. So I just wanted to follow up on the functionality. So it's with the level 1 license that you get all of the criteria for being compliant with the NRPP, ANSI, AARST guidelines, that kind of thing, right?
Correct. You get basically, you get with the level 1 license, you get the full access to all the report generation, the invoicing, as well as the quality control module. It's all included in the level 1 license.
And your calibration.
Right.
Yes. The first, yes. When you basically sign up $199 for the year, you get all this, and you can basically submit within the 1 year of the license. You can submit your monitor for calibration once. Right?
Yep. And the licensing is per device. So if you have several devices that you want to license at level 1, those would be the $199 per. So those would be the ones you would be using with the features in the cloud.
Right. Or another way to look at this, consider it, you have to pay for calibration anyway. You need calibration for a small upcharge, and this right now $70 upcharge. You basically get all these features here for available in terms of compliance, reporting, everything.
And all of this is current available functionality?
Yes, the only thing what is right now, this quality control module, what I just showed you here, this one here is available, but we only make it available to what we call beta testers. for the next few weeks, just to make sure that to get feedback if you forgot something or if you get some good ideas. During the development of this module, we worked with some partners in some in New York, some in Minnesota, to make sure, and of course with the NRPP itself, some folks there to make sure what we present here is compliant and works and is usable. But because we just release it, it's available now. We want to make sure that we get some initial feedback before we release it to everybody. Now, however, if you want to participate, you can have it now, and it's fully functional.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. So any particular things you'd like me to go more in detail or explain? I would be happy to do that.
Kai, I know we talked about once before on a previous demonstration with some users, then we had some feedback afterwards about the CSV file download, that specific states have specific needs. Is there, you mentioned it earlier, I think we're always continuing future development, but for instance, we've got somebody on board from Minnesota. I think some of the requirements that were submitted as feedback might have been, placement location or specifics on, level of the floor being, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Yes. Is that information that we're still currently working into the format?
Yes. Right now we are tracking the location of the monitor, but not the floor plan. The floor plan will be implemented in the next release, not so far out. We are still collecting some information. Right now the data download, CSV data download, is what I would call a superset of everything. So it's not distinguished to remove things which might not be required for certain states. It basically has everything. Go down the road, we're planning to potentially implement it so that you have it per state. However, right now we are still trying to collect the information from each state, what each state is actually requires differently, if anything. No, and the main problem there is a little bit that it's sometimes just in the wording. Some states want to call it floor something else than others, in terms of just terminology. And this is basically where we still try to get the information. But yes, to your original question, we're continuously editing these downloads to make sure everything is in there what's required. And if not, that's why we have beta programs. That's why we have testers. That's why we look for feedback. If people tell us, here, you could do that and that better, or you're missing this information, then we're happy to take a look and edit it. We are pretty agile with our development. We continuously improve the product literally every day. There's some work going on, so there's always an opportunity to edit or change something if there's a good idea or if you missed something.
I'll object one more question from your internal peanut gallery. OneRADON software. So this is, just for clarification, all of these changes are implemented in our cloud services. Can you just give us a quick overview of what we will be changing to users with OneRADON desktop editions and mobile apps? Because I know that this is a database, and database collection is where all of these things need to happen. So
right. So yes, on the mobile app, right now in the mobile apps and the desktop apps, it lets you upload the data, pictures. Lets you upload general information all from the inspection. What it does not allow you right now is NRPP specific information like the checklists. That don't get uploaded there. This is something we will add in a new release, similar to the chain of custody, that you can enter 2 different inspectors for the test, so that you can enter it on the mobile app and then upload it. Right now you have to enter it in the cloud. We will add that, and just some of the color coding. What we will not be able to add in the mobile app is the entire function, the QC, basically anything what has to do with merging tests, because we are merging data from a database. It's a cloud database, but it's a database, and doing that on your mobile phone would be rather complicated, because then we would have to decide where do we put the database. Do we put it on your phone? Do you put it on somewhere on your computer? So we don't want to do that. It gets too confusing. So instead, what we retain for the mobile app, you upload the inspections with all the metadata you like, you upload it, and then you do the merging, the QC in the cloud.
Okay, I got a question, Dr. Kari, is why is it like it's a requirement that you have to do the duplicate test after so many tests and so
Yes.
on? Or, okay.
Yes, there are
Okay.
two requirements. One is the time span from the last one, which is 6 months. Some states waived that one, but the requirement is to have about every 10% of tests you have a side-by-side, means basically every 10th test.
Oh,
And that's why we give this warning here when you have
yeah.
when you get to the 9, 10, it gets yellow, and then above 12 gets red.
Okay. And the purpose behind duplicate or side-by-side tests is to sort of keep like a QC on your devices, or?
Yeah, it's making sure that your device reporting consistently. It's not an absolute test because this is what a calibration does.
Right.
A calibration tells you that it's absolutely calibrated. The side by side, because you're comparing two devices and you don't take that's why you take the average of the two only and the deviation between the two, because you're comparing two devices if they're drifting to each other. If one goes off the charts, like in this case, one went off the chart, or I just used a test which made it look like that. One goes off the charts, that means you know that one of the devices actually changed dramatically, you know?
Okay, great, thank you.
So we're about a minute out, almost to the 1 o'clock end time. And I just wanted to say that this meeting was recorded. Hopefully Teams will spit out a good recording for us to share with our clients that are on the calls. If there's anybody that has particular interest to learn more or get some pricing on upgrading from level or a base level to level 1, feel free to reach out to us, or, we can communicate after the meeting. It's like I said, it's designed to help streamline workflows and operations within your business so that you don't have to have the worry, the stress, especially for the states that are coming on board with licensing. Some of you may already be doing it about a year or so in, but it is definitely to help, and we will continue to improve and make changes. So level 1 users, are going to get the priority services with all of this software applications. So it's what we know, and we do want to help our customer base as much as possible. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Kai, thank you for a very good presentation. If anybody has any specifics, feel free to reach out. You can also email support@sunradon.com or go on our webpage and just click the help desk ticket so we can get that information back over to you. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.